Hello, 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 guys. Again, Lens. Good. So, I've been doing an experiment the last couple days. I'm gonna roll this window up some so you guys don't hear so much of the road noise. I apologize. I've been doing a bunch of experimenting off and on lately, and the last couple days, I decided that I would try some standard American food. I know it's a shock to you guys, but this to go along with what I'm going to talk about, the E85 versus keto. What is E85 versus keto? I'll get into that. But literally for the last 2 days, because of the situation that I'm in and stuff like that, I've been eating cheap, low quality, trashy food that just is not very good at all. I probably gained about 10 pounds. It's very apparent. My face is more bloated, my belly's more distended, and it's been kind of a rough 2 days. In the beginning, I noticed that the headache increased. I noticed that it almost felt like pressure inside my body increase. Um, I also experienced just restless nights sleeping. Um, Digestion wise, not so much. No issues there. Um, and using the bathroom, no issues there. Just a lot more of it. So that was a big concern for me was the increase in bowel movement and the increase in the bloating, the not sleeping so well, things of that nature. Energy levels just kind of all over the place, and I felt like I had to eat twice as much to sustain long energy levels, and that was an issue for me. Having to double, if not triple, my food intake because I could eat, and then 3 or 4 hours later, I was ravenously hungry again, then having to eat again. It was like I was almost having to double up on the nutrient density, which there's not very much nutrient density, but the caloric profile of my foods because I just had no sustained long term energy. That's where this comes into play. With my little experiment and talking to some people online about my experiment, I decided to come up with an analogy that some of you may get. When I consumed standard American food, I had to eat 2 to 3 times the amount of food compared to on a ketogenic or carnivorous diet. The energy levels just were not there. They were not sustained long term, and it didn't make me feel very good in general. So when I talk about E85 versus keto, what's this? This is where we get into what I'm talking about. You have vehicles called flex fuel vehicles. And I'm going to relate this analogy that happens inside the vehicle to what happens inside your body. Good morning. Um, and I want you guys to understand. I want you to stick with me through this. This is important stuff for life in general, and this is also important for you to understand the analogy that's coming here. Don't bail on me now until you actually can can honestly get what I'm saying whenever I start to explain this. It's part of my profession. Hello, hello, hello. In explaining things like this to make you more knowledgeable as well. E85 is hello. E85 is an ethanol fuel blend. So E85 is a fuel that you can put in a vehicle that has a flex fuel system. And I'm going to relate this to um, being able to switch from a ketogenic diet to a standard American diet and then back to a ketogenic diet, back to a standard American diet, because metabolic flexibility is what our goal should be anyway. I'm not saying standard American is the way you would go. E85 works the same way in a car. You can put E85 in a vehicle, or you can put regular gasoline in the vehicle. Now, what ends up happening is ethanol is E85. It's a biomass. It's a fermentation process derived from sugars, and those sugars can come from sugar cane, sugar beet, molasses, starch, corn, wheat, soy, cellulose from forest products, and they ferment these sugars and stuff that are in these products, and this creates a fuel that you can add into gasoline that you can put in your car, and your car can run off that, or it can run off straight gasoline. Now, I've wrote some points down, my own words that I want to touch on so I don't lose track here. Now, the same thing with my body. The last couple days of eating just whatever and cheap, low quality stuff, I've noticed that weight gain, distended or protruding belly, weight in my face, sleep way off, kind of achy but not so much achy, no digestion problems, and a little bit of a headache constantly around the clock, having to take some major headache medicine to get through it. But what what does E85 do to a vehicle in general? When you put E85 fuel in a vehicle, it leaves sooty carbon deposits all over inside your valve train. The same thing when you eat carbs and sugar, right? It will actually inflame and cause a precursor to arteriosclerosis, heart disease, heart attack, things like this. And then you can have this issue with your lipid panel. Well, when I take E85 and I ingest it into a vehicle and I expect my vehicle to run off that E85 like we do carbs and sugar, it will run, but it will not run very good. And when you go fill your vehicle up with the E85, you can go get it at the pump for $2.25 a gallon, right? Cheap. Your vehicle can run on it. When you go eat carb food, stop at Wendy's or McDonald's or something like that, you can get that dollar burger. Cheap. You can run on it. 2 days later, 3 days later, you're filling that car back up again. Where you can get, when you can take a tank of straight gasoline, keto, fat fuel, gasoline. Understand the analogy here. You can run on that the entire day without having to eat multiple times, the entire week without having to eat multiple times. E85 does the same thing to a vehicle. When you put E85 in your vehicle, you might make it 2 or 3 days or even 4 days, but you notice that you're filling up again and again and again and again and again because the vehicle just cannot burn that fuel efficiently like it can gasoline. Gasoline might get you 400, 500 miles to a tank. E85 is only going to produce about 275. The same thing that carbs do to our body, the same thing that fat does to our body, the analogy can be put in place just like a vehicle. Keto doesn't saturate our body with carbon deposits. Keto doesn't cause blockages and stuff like that. Keto, beta-hydroxybutyrate precursor ketone, comes from acetoacetate. Your body converts that into beta-hydroxybutyrate. Beta-hydroxybutyrate is a very anti-scurvy, anti-inflammation, anti-anything agent when it comes down to it. So beta-hydroxybutyrate in general fights all these other bad things that happens because of the type of diet, and we can go long-term on these diets without having to eat often. E85 being put into the vehicle is like sugar and carbs. You have to fuel up more often, and you're not getting nowhere near the same fuel mileage out of it. So flex fuel vehicles, people think when I buy a flex fuel vehicle, I'm saving money. You're not saving money. You're not doing anything more for yourself than you're actually taking money out of your pocket. When we were in automotive school, we took a flex fuel Ford Taurus and we filled it up with the 85. And by the fourth day, we were already having to put fuel back in the vehicle again because it only had 275 miles to a tank. When we put straight gasoline, no E85, just gasoline into a vehicle, that vehicle ran all the way to 6 days and we had 410 miles to a tank. It's the same exact freaking principle. The last 2 days of me eating just low grade, low quality food, I feel like trash. I'm having to eat twice the amount of food. I cannot sustain the energy levels long term, and it's just all over the place. I wanted to put this, hi Maxine, I wanted to put this together and be able to relate to you guys, to show you guys exactly how the human body works with exactly what happens in vehicles. E85 is an ethanol fuel. E85 is an ethanol blend fuel that is not straight gasoline. What ends up happening is they create this low quality gasoline that is in cahoots with the farmers and stuff like that, the grain companies, and they ferment it and they create this like alcohol based, or they create a fuel that can be mixed in with gasoline that the car can use, but it's not efficient at all, and it leaves deposits all over inside the engine just like carbs and sugar do in our body. Now in the racing world, in the automotive world, in the racing world, the high performance world, they will take, don't use it, it's terrible, it's trash. In the racing world, they will take a boosted engine, supercharged, turbocharged, and hear me out here, don't bail yet, hear me out here, you'll understand what I'm saying when I'm done. They will take a turbocharged engine or a supercharged engine and they will double the amount of fuel almost with the 85. They will pump as much fuel through that engine as possible under boost because they know they can use twice the amount of fuel and get more power in the long run. But if I break down exactly what's going on, I can take one measurement of gasoline versus one measurement of E85, and I can check my thermic output when it comes to that. I can check my, so this is carbs versus sugar in a sense, or carbs versus fat. You can take 1 unit of E85 versus 1 unit of gasoline, and there's nowhere near the volatility. You can take 1 unit of carbs versus 1 unit of fat. There's nowhere near the volatility. Carbs, you get that quick burst now, and then it tapers off really, really quick. Same thing with the 85. You get that quick burst, double the amount of fuel now, create a lot of power, but then long-term wise, you destroy the engine, it tapers off. You got to keep pumping fuel to it to keep that kind of energy, and it just doesn't work. If you take 1 unit of gasoline and you take a naturally aspirated engine, you can create so much more power with that fat fuel, that gasoline that's added to it, because it's way more volatile. Anytime you go to the pump at a gas station and you see E87, E85, E10, E30, something like that, those numbers have ethanol in it. Those numbers are the same numbers that you don't want to put in your vehicle. Anytime that you have ethanol in your fuel, you're diluting the quality that's going into your vehicle. Anytime you have that E85 going into your body, carbs, you're diluting the quality of performance and life that you have in general. These are equated across the board. This is exactly how it works in an E85 vehicle versus a fat-fueled body. So what are the benefits to E85? Cooling effect. Yeah, you know what? I could honestly say that there are, let me see, I've lost 115 pounds since last April eating keto carnivore. Yeah, that's great. That's amazing. It really is amazing. So E85 does have a cooling effect to it, but in the process of doing that, it leaves a lot of carbon deposits behind. Whenever you think about what you do in keto, you came from a standard American diet to a ketogenic diet. What did you use to clean your life up? You used a ketogenic diet or a carnivorous diet to clean your life up. What happens when somebody runs E85 through their vehicle for a long time and they get all these soot carbon deposits, or maybe the vehicle sits for a long time and it tarnishes inside the fuel system? What is the fix from that? They want you to run gasoline through the system. What do we fix ourselves with coming from a standard American diet? We run fat through our system. We quit eating the carbs and sugar. You see the direct analogy here? The same process that happens inside that vehicle is the same exact thing that happens inside our body. We use the same principle across the board in order to fix exactly what's going on inside us. It's called the process is called pickling. When you take an E85 engine that's been sitting for a long time, or it's been running constant E85 through it all the time, they use straight gasoline to clean that system out, because they know long term that's not good for that vehicle. We do the same thing with our body. Carbs and sugar for long periods of time, blocking everything up, slowing everything down, and then what do? We go to a fat-fueled lifestyle, and all of a sudden our body starts cleaning up and we lose all that inflammation. We start getting healthy and stuff. It's the same exact principle. Let me see here. You don't get nowhere near the fuel mileage, nowhere near as volatile as gasoline, which produces more power per unit, cheaper, runs out quicker, flushes the system whenever it's been sitting for a long time, causes more deposits, and then, so I've already covered everything. I'm good here. I just wanted to make sure that I covered this analogy effect, what's going on. So the last 2 days of this has been terrible for me. I even stopped today just to kind of clean myself out a little bit, and got a big giant bottle of water, brought my bottle of salt, or my container of salt and stuff with me, and stopped and grabbed some of those like little nut protein ham cheese packets, just so I can clean myself out, just so I can really clean myself out and start going back to a more protein fat based diet. I got like a little block of cheese, I got some ham, some almonds, I got 3 boiled eggs, just because I feel terrible off of the last 2 days of this experiment, having to double if not triple my food intake just to be able to sustain my energy levels at work. It's been crazy. And it just goes to prove right now that long term, I don't know how people can continue to go off this. I don't know how. Yeah, an electric car, that's pretty good actually. An electric car would be like fasting. It can go. So an electric car would be like fasting as well. If I'm looking at an analogy here, if a self-powered electric car, you would have to recharge. I guess that would be a great way to create an analogy here. An electric car could go infinitely under the right conditions with a recharge every once in a while if it can't self-recharge, and that would be just like fasting because you can infinitely fast if you got enough body fat. You just have to refeed every once in a while. I think that would be that's a pretty good analogy. I can hang with that. Um, but anyway, E85 is a trash fuel for your vehicle. It's supporting all these grain companies and stuff out there. When people use that stuff, it's not that great for your vehicle, and your body has a way of detecting good food versus bad food as well. And when you take E85 and you put it in a flex fuel vehicle, it has to have a specific type of oxygen sensor in the fuel so it can detect the amount of oxygen that's in the exhaust, so it knows whether or not you're using E85. The same as your vehicle, or the same as your vehicle, your body, with carbs and sugar. Your body knows whether or not its blood sugar is up or it's down. Its insulin is up or it's down. And it knows if you're eating sugary carb foods, when your blood sugar starts to increase like crazy, it starts increasing your insulin as well so you can get everything out of there. So in that instance, we are a direct mimicking mechanism of exactly what goes on in the mechanical engineering side of things. And I think that's why I got into this to begin with, to start sharing stuff with people because of my profession and what I do, and how we diagnose things, how we go through troubleshooting charts, and we look at algorithms and databases and stuff like that, and a reoccurring pattern of issues that happen with vehicles as well as humans. It's all a direct analogy of one another. That's why I typically won't give up whenever I start trying to help with, okay, these are your symptoms. What have you done to correct it? Okay, let's try this. It works, it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, let's figure out what the problem is then. Let's get even deeper into this. And that's what I deal with on a daily basis in my profession. I might have a vehicle that somebody else has worked on, and it comes back into the shop because they didn't fix it correctly. Maybe they didn't do their diagnosis correctly. Maybe they thought something was wrong when it was a masking problem. There was actually something else that was going on that caused something else to go bad. So I worked with a lady last year that came to me with a thyroid issue, and she was having T3, T4 conversion. And her doctor was having her do all this liver stuff and hormone this and that and additives and putting in all these medicines and stuff like that. And I said, it took me about a week of asking questions, going back and forth. And I said, do you use the bathroom every day? And I said, I've been doing some research over the last 4 days, and I'm finding a lot of stuff that leads back to constipation. Do you use the bathroom every day? And she said, absolutely not. It's really difficult for me to use the bathroom. And I said, look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist, but I'm a master mechanic. And I know this sounds wrong, but I do a lot of diagnostic, a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of going back to the charts, the books, looking at wiring schematics and stuff like that. And by me looking at all this medical stuff, it directly relates to what I'm dealing with people. It's almost the same exact thing. A doctor will go back to a book and they'll research stuff as well. That's what they should do anyway. And I said, I've been reading up a lot on constipation. When somebody's severely constipated, it backs up your liver. When your liver's backed up and not functioning properly, your conversion from T3 to T4 hormone is off, thus reducing your thyroid function. Do you think maybe we can reduce fibers and go back to like more of a carnivore style diet, reduce all the salads and stuff you're eating, pull the fiber out a little bit, let's loosen things up a little bit more because fiber is a binder, and let's see what happens. And she went on a like really, really high fat, like 180 to 200 grams of fat when she was a small person to begin with, and all of a sudden things started clearing up. She started feeling better. She started sleeping longer. Her energy levels and stuff started coming up during the day. She went back to her doctor, and she told her doctor what she was doing, and her doctor wanted her to quit. And she said, Doc, why would I quit? I'm feeling better. By pulling all this fiber and stuff out of my diet, I'm going to the bathroom more now, and it's actually making me feel better. Well, that alone was causing all these liver problems. It was causing thyroid problems. So when she actually got her digestion and constipation fixed, the thyroid cleared up. And now she's completely fine. She's got no more thyroid problems at all. Doesn't have to take medicine or anything anymore. It's these little things that we come across over in our lifetime, and how we can take those things and share them with other people. When you have a a knowledge base, an experience in life, a record of helping people, you can share those things with other people to implant little ideas in their brain, so they may think that, okay, this happened with this person, this happened with that person. Maybe I should put my own little data together so I can try to figure out what's going on with me, because what's working with my doctor is not necessarily working. Maybe I can write down what he said or something like that. The next time I see my doctor, actually go over it with him to see maybe if this could be my issue. And I've had many people come back and see my rhetoric, going back and forth with people, talking to them, explaining things to them on the keto groups, Facebook groups, and stuff like that. And then they'll say, you know what? I was watching you deal with so-and-so, and now I've actually ran across the same issue, and I ran it by my doctor, and we tried it, and it's kind of working for me. So I thank you. Thank you for everything, because it worked for me as well. Just share your story. Share your journey. Don't be afraid of it. Understand where your fuel sources are coming from and exactly what they do. Don't put E85 in your vehicle. Put gasoline in your vehicle. Good quality gasoline. Top tier fuel from like Shell or something like that. Find a top tier gas station where you can get good quality fuel. And remember, food is your medicine. Food is what's going to heal you. Food has all the nutrient density that you need to fix the conditions inside your body. Gasoline from top tier fuel has all the additives that your car needs. You don't have to add additives or dump stuff in to make your car run better, or all these other additives at the gas station that your husband or your girlfriend or your grandfather or somebody thinks that they need to dump in every time. When that fuel's created from the fuel station, the additives are already put in the fuel, and when you dump stuff on top of it, all you're doing is diluting the fuel. It's the same way with sugar and carbs. It works the same exact way. Eat fat-fueled food, feed your body with nutrients, you go long-term, no deposits, you heal. You eat sugary, high-carb foods, you age faster, you feel like crap, and the amount of energy expenditure and stuff, the amount of nutrient density that you need almost doubles, if not triples sometimes. Not good, no bueno. Top tier fuel in your vehicle. Feed your body. Feed your soul. All right, guys, be blessed. I just wanted to share with you. Thank you.